And we're live.
We're live. Yes. He's Holden. I'm Hatter.
As always.
Yep. And welcome to Drunk Doctor Who.
Drunk Doctor Who.
Episode 8, Reign of Terror.
Episode 8 of the podcast. Serial 8 of
Doctor
What are we
Who.
drinking today, Hatter?
Wait. We're drinking screwdrivers.
And earlier we were drinking vodka Sprite.
Right. We have screwdrivers, which is orange juice and vodka. And we also drink vodka Sprite, which
Vodka
is
Sprite.
Sprite and vodka.
Yes.
It's all vodka, it's all good.
Maybe we'll have some tequila next week.
No tequila. Tequila bad.
Margaritas are great though.
No, tequila bad.
With margaritas.
No, tequila bad. I might have some more vodka tonight, but tequila bad. Anyway, this is the 8th episode of Drunk Doctor Who, The Reign of Terror.
Reign of Terror.
We had 6 episodes from 8/8/1964 to 9/12/1964. And this is the second time that the time has crossed our time because we missed a week.
We missed a week thanks to our short hiatus.
Well,
we had a second crossover where we're once again crossing over. And Reign of Terror.
Well, because you had a wedding, right?
Yeah. It totally. I feel so bad because whenever I miss 1 week, it just feels like an eternity since I've been on the podcast, and it totally flew over my head that those 2 dates were falling on the same day. I had a wedding on the same day. Because when you think about it, who has a wedding on Monday?
Exactly. Who has a wedding on Monday?
It was a reception at Abuelo's. This is just a weird.
Why was there a wedding on Monday?
I don't know.
Was it a family tradition or?
No, it was just a really small reception, small wedding, small ceremony, just close friends and family, very small. For whatever reason, it's on Monday. I don't know why.
Okay. Anyway, so we missed last week, but this week we're good.
We're making up for it.
Right. So the Doctor Who serial passes us up yet again, the second time. And anyway, we have 6 episodes, The Reign of Terror, which is set in France during the French Revolution. And we had who are the companions? Ian, Susan, and Barbara.
As always.
Okay, who is the antagonist?
Now the antagonists are interesting because this sort of deception game. We have these rogue characters. We don't know who's the antagonist and who's the bad guy and who's the good guy because some of the good guys are posing as bad guys, but as we know it, Robespierre was the antagonist,
Robespierre and revolutionaries.
Yeah,
I would say both
revolutionaries, and both of them we have characters like Jean and Jules, one of which holds true to democracy, and the other one tends to be loyal to the revolutionists.
Right.
And there's lots of backstabbing and
it's very political.
Very political. We're back on our historical.
Okay. Yeah, remember that every episode of the classical Doctor Who up to a certain point is historical, while the others are sci-fi. This is a historical episode, so we do the Reign of Terror during the French Revolution, and the current antagonists are Robespierre and other revolutionaries. Yeah. So I will write that, and it is what it is.
So we had this cool discourse of revolutionists and these
revolutionaries,
loyalists, and the middle class, which aren't they're not loyalists and they're not revolutionists, but they hate to see, because the revolutionists got so bloodthirsty that they're just executing innocent people. So the people that are in the middle, they're not loyalists or revolutionaries, but they're against both of it because they hate to see innocent people being executed, because the revolutionists got so bloodthirsty they're just dragging everybody into it and executing all the people associated, friends of. There's just any excuse to guillotine someone. So we had these middle class that were they wanted democracy and they didn't want chaos. So that's why it's so confusing, because we had this discourse of backstabbing and these these rogue type characters.
Right. Remember, true democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding who what's for dinner. It's bad, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so French Revolution, and it's all good, it's all fun. Anyway, so as it so happens, is the second time that the dates have crossed over what we're doing, just because we missed a week.
We said that already.
We said that already? Yeah. Oh, we'll do it again. Okay, so episodes are 8, 8, 20, 1964, 9, 12, 9, 1964. And this is we are 8/13, 2018. It crosses again.
We had a 6-episode serial.
6.
And let's jump right into the notes and the questions. The introduction to episode 1 to the Reign of Terror, the French Revolution. We had the Doctor, and he, the end of last episode, the planet Synsphere, once they resolve that whole conflict, they're back on the TARDIS. Ian and Barbara, they still want to go home, and the Doctor's in such a mood and such a humph that he's like, all right, we'll send you back home, and he's in a temper as always, and he tries to get him back home, but again, his calculations are off by 100 miles and 100 years, so they're not only not in England, they're in France, and they're 100 years ago.
180 years.
80 years during the French Revolution.
Fails,
So, but he has so much pride and such confidence that his calculations are right, and he can't be wrong because he has so much pride in how he operates the TARDIS that he thinks that he's just spot on, that it's the right time. But again, we get this sense of the Doctor's character of being very prideful, and he doesn't want to admit that he's off by his calculations. He got them 100 years in the past, 180, and slowly he begins to realize that he's so prideful. But at the beginning, he's in such a hurry to just dismiss them, and it's kind of like he's just trying to ditch the companions. He's like, all right, we're here, you're home, get off the ship. And it takes Ian, quite the conversation to convince the Doctor just to, make sure that they're there, that they're home, and to walk home with them and have a drink and have a proper goodbye before he finally, he's like, okay, and he gives, and he's like, we'll make sure that we're
right, but the Doctor does go with them, and, Susan goes with them, and they all, see that they're not home.
Yeah, they're not home.
In the French Revolution.
Despite the Doctor's pride, they are off by 180 years or so, and 180 miles or so from their home. So,
and they end up the French Revolution, and 6 episodes, and there's the guillotine, and there's, we're gonna execute everybody if we find them with a traitor. They're dead, and it's horrible.
Speaking of which, I wanted to talk about what death has it's a tool used in cinematic masterpieces. TV shows and movies using death as really directors and script writers. They want to put consequence into the episodes. They want to feel like there's danger, and they want to present that threat, and the best way to represent that is through the death of a character. And we've had that in the past. We've had several episodes where people, probably every episode, people die. We have the first serial during the caveman, the witch dies because she's just old. Everyone dies. At least there's one character that dies.
In this serial, like 6 people die.
Well, usually it's only 1 or 2 people that die. You have someone that you're on this planet and he's trying to make the jump and he falls and he misses, and then you have the episode in the Synsphere, just last episode for an example.
Okay.
You have one of the aliens that got betrayed and he was killed, and then the episode before that you have
Sensorites, okay.
Yeah, those are the Sensorites, and before that we had the Aztecs, where Ian's battling the Aztec warrior and he throws him off a cliff and he dies. Sure. And it just creates this tension and this depth to the characters and the feeling that there is consequences to each of these episodes, and that usually happens with a character dying, because you had these serials where you build the characters in these antagonists or these companions, and usually one of the or not the companions, but like one of the friendly characters, one of the antagonists, they meet an untimely death to provide depth to the story and consequence. But this episode or season 6, Serial 6, our podcast episode 6, Reign of Terror. Serial 8. I'm sorry.
Of the first season, it's the last serial.
Last serial of the first season, it by far has the highest death count we've ever seen so far, because there are about 9 deaths in this episode, and granted, they're mostly
serial.
In the serial. Yeah, we have 9 deaths in the serial. Mostly it's just throwaway characters, bland, guard 1, guard 2, a lot of people getting shot. In the very first episode, we have Dargerson and Rouvray. French names. Rouvray and Dargerson. They get shot right in the first episode, so that's 2 characters.
It's a Reign of Terror.
Reign of Terror. A lot of characters.
You know anything about the French Revolution? There was a revolution.
Jules gets shot. A lot of people getting shot. 6 sets of guards getting shot. We have 9 deaths overall, which really spells out this serial as just being this, this high conflict place. Lots of bloodthirst. We have these revolutionaries. They're just really, they have this bloodlust. They're just executing everyone they can. Interesting enough, we never saw the guillotine in action. Just lots of mentions and threats of it, but we never got to see it in action because we're still in a children's show. You can't see someone being beheaded.
Children's show. We have multiple deaths, but it's children's show. When
you see someone's head come off, that usually warrants an R rating or an M rating on
not
video
in the
games.
60s. Yeah.
In the 60s.
60s and 70s, they thought children could understand more than they do now.
The Reign of Terror, the French Revolution, they avoided the guillotine altogether, but somehow they still showed up with 9 deaths in the serial, mostly guards, but some.
And Doctor Who is still considered a children's show well into the 70s when there's a plant monster choking somebody. Physically, that's when it's considered changed from a children's show to a family show.
So in
the
70s, kind of thing.
Many years later, 8, 9 years later, It's so weird the way this show works.
It's weird.
The BBC and everything.
We're drinking screwdrivers.
We are drinking screwdrivers. Yes.
Here's that.
Vodka, because vodka is good.
Russian standard with our great value orange juice.
Amen. Anyway, this is the final serial of the first season. Next episode, we will be on the second season 2, The Planet of Giants, and that's only 3 episodes, so we will do what we do with it, which means probably heavier drinking.
Drinking songs.
3. Well, maybe.
Shots.
What songs did I sing to you?
You sang the one with the bow, the Scottishman with the robe.
Scotsman.
Yeah,
and what else?
It was the much more graphic one with the body and the digger up, hi ho.
Oh, yo-ho.
Yo-ho.
Yeah. Okay, the only really graphic one I have left is the Ball of Balinor. That's graphic, yeah.
Maybe we'll do that one off camera.
Not on camera.
Not on camera.
But
just to get good and drunk for a 3-episode drinking game.
Maybe.
We'll have shots. Rest assured, we'll be drunk for next episode, our 3
As
episodes.
Always, yes. But the next season, season 2, the first serial was Planet of Giants. There were 3 episodes, but it was supposed to be 4. But they ended up cutting it to 3. And, watch 3 episodes and, whatever.
Is that due to, budgetary constraints? Or
no, it's more
pacing.
Editing, editing constraints,
Okay.
And then, by this point, Doctor Who has a great following. It has a budget from the BBC, and it's good to go for a long, long while. And so, there's no problem with all that. Anyway, oh, by the way, during the Reign of Terror, episodes 4 and 5 of the 6 episodes were animated because they're currently lost.
Incidentally, these were our first look at animated episodes because we've seen the reconstruction with the audio and the stills.
Marco Polo.
Yeah, Marco Polo. We had our promotional stills and the audio, but we've never seen animation before, and this was our first look at a couple of reconstruction animated episodes.
Correct. During the, if you watch it straight through, yes.
So this is episode 4 and 5 of our 6 episodes. So 1, 2, and 3 was live action, 4, 5 was animated, and our last episode 6 was once again live action. But let's talk about the animation. You said, it was a very starch animation, hard lines, macabre type of animation.
Yeah, very, very stark.
Very stark. Yeah. So, which means, stern. There's a lot of rigid lines, sort of like line drawing animation.
It looks good for the men, not as much for the women, but it is what it is. Okay, during the classic Doctor Who serials, when they animated it, there were a couple of different animation companies, 2 or 3, and some of them did a more general. Are you good?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Disassemble your pen.
What? Okay.
I'm looking for the cat.
You are so much more drunk.
I felt bad, but now that we're drunk, I feel like I can be truthful with you. I broke your pen, the little clip part here.
Okay, it's irrelevant. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Because you're we have
vino veritas.
In wine.
Truth. Veritas, truth.
To be truthful, I broke your pen. We're a fan of the Saints. We have our Saints cups.
Yes.
Not only cups, we also have our Saints pin, which I not only broke, but I also lost the cap to.
It's not relevant. It's okay. It's okay.
So speaking of the animation,
this is the point of drunk talking.
It's very stark.
Drunk while I do this.
It was very stark. It was macabre, as you put it. Stark, line drawing animation, very harsh lines, which is complementary to the men because when you're depicting a man in animation and drawing, they're very stern and they have these hard angles and hard edges. But with women,
it didn't help Barbara as much.
Barbara wasn't a very flattering picture of Barbara. She had, they really outlined those wrinkle lines and the crow's feet but with Susan, it wasn't so bad because she's much younger and she had softer characteristics.
So antagonist Robespierre Revolution.
In the Revolutionaries, yeah. Exactly. The Revolutionaries you never know who these are because sometimes it's real obvious they're citizens that join the militia, their army, and other times they're undercover and they're posing as loyalists, but they turn out to be revolutionaries, and it's confusing. But it all comes to light. It's
over 6 episodes. Oh my gosh. So intricate and confusing.
Yeah, plenty of time to develop the antagonists and the companions. Speaking of which, we had time to develop the companions and the Doctor. This serial that we saw for the first time ever, the Doctor used brute force, and he picked up a shovel.
I love that.
That was great.
Yeah. So he beat someone over the head with the shovel and knocked him out.
So for context, the Doctor finds himself in a situation where he's in the hands of a tax collector, a person.
Essentially,
yeah. He's kind of like gosh, what do you call it?
Tax dodger.
Tax dodger. Yeah, he's a probation officer type of a jailer. He picks up these tax dodgers, people who aren't paying their taxes.
Episode 2,
and he puts them to work. Yeah, episode 2. And he grabs the doctor on his way. And the doctor, we were talking earlier about his character. He's so prideful, and he can never keep his mouth shut. And he's so matter of fact, and he comes across this tax collector type of guy, and he's really giving him the broadside. He's like, you have these people working for you, but why don't you work yourself? And then you get your work done, and then the tax collector's like, well, show me your papers. Have you been doing your taxes? And obviously he doesn't have his papers. So the tax collector puts him to work, and he finds himself with a pickaxe. He's breaking up stones, and obviously he has to go save his fellow companions, Ian, Susan, and Barbara, his granddaughter, and his 2 companions. So he has to get himself out of this situation. And he comes up with this clever ruse. He calls him over with the guise of an eclipse, and they're talking about eclipse, and while he lures the jailer over, he picks his pocket, he takes a couple of coins out of his coin purse, and he plants one in the dirt, and he pretends to find the other one, and the jailer comes over and he's like, you found gold, and he starts digging up, and he finds the other coin that
and he has to go.
He's like, this shovel. Yeah, he's like, this treasure's mine, and he starts digging in. The doctor, for the first time ever, uses brute force. He picks up the shovel and he hits the jailer over the head.
Yeah, that's the doctors. I know. I wish the modern doctors were more that way.
Yeah. You said they're a little bit softer. They're a little bit more
pansy.
But the first doctor, this guy, he's this is so great. I'm a big fan.
Exactly. Wait. Yes. All right. And we are there. And our current documentary showing episode is right here.
Yeah, they don't know about this stuff.
Well, no, they do, because we show them every week. We are slowly but surely catching up to my
so we have a weekly viewing group, and aside from the podcast.
Well, yeah.
We're catching up to them.
We will, because we are watching 2 episodes a week, and you and I are watching a whole serial a week, which is 4 to 6, 10 episodes. See, so we will slowly but surely eventually catch up to them and pass them, It's all good.
Alright. So we're talking about the development of the doctor's character, and he, for the first time, used brute force, but not only did he use brute force for the first time, it really went to develop his rogue, his character, in which, after he knocks out the jailer has that big old coin purse, and he takes one of the coins, which leads the viewers to believe that he's gonna, take his money while he's knocked out, but instead of taking the coins, he just puts it in his eye, and he's like, have a nice sleep, and he walks off without taking. He doesn't pickpocket him. He doesn't take any of his money.
That's very traditional.
Yeah, traditional.
When someone dies, it's incredibly traditional to put 2 coins on their eyes.
Yeah.
So they can have coins to give to the
boatmen, so they can
stakes,
get to the river
stakes, right?
Yeah, but he only puts 1 coin on his eye.
Well,
he's being really silly. He doesn't take the jailer's coin.
He does not steal.
He doesn't steal from the jailer that he just knocked out, because he's just this, happy-go-lucky character. And
he just wants his freedom. He
just wants his freedom, and he prances off into the sunset because he's not a rogue. He's not stealing anything. He just wants his freedom, and he's achieved that through deception.
And if you're watching this and you haven't watched that serial, really? You should know. If you watch that serial, you know this.
Hopefully you're watching along with us.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the point.
Exactly.
Or you've already watched it and now you just want a recap.
Right. If you haven't watched it, you're watching us. Really? Really? Yeah.
No spoilers. Please watch it.
No, lots of
spoilers.
It's all spoilers.
But it's very old, so you're to blame.
The stuff really released in 1964. If you haven't seen it by now, spoilers are irrelevant, Seriously.
So we're talking about episode 2 with the doctor and the jailer, tax collector type dude, but let's jump back to episode 1 real quick. We have a couple of protagonists that meet up with the companions. They're not revolutionaries. They're
just part of the monarch. They're trying to escape.
They're trying to escape, but for the most part, they just want democracy, and they don't want to see innocent people being executed. It's Jar Son and Rouvray, and Jar Son paints himself as this really panicky type of character, and Rouvray is this.
Jar Son was panicky.
Yeah, he's very panicky. He's a panicker, and he tries to make his escape, which he's routed, and at that point, Rouvray, as the great character he stepped in to try to save his friend, and he's this former military sergeant or captain or something, and he's such a stout character. He just speaks with an authority, and he holds off the people as long as he can, but these revolutionaries, they're so bloodthirsty that they shoot him anyway, and they shoot his...
Yeah, seriously, the French Revolution was hell.
Woof. Yeah, a lot of bloodshed.
Yeah,
lots of executions.
Bad time.
Yeah, a really bad time for the companions to drop in, of all the places and times they could have
It's one of the Doctor's
in.
favorite times in America, in Earth history,
One of the Doctor's favorite times?
No, it's what Susan said. It's one of the Doctor's. It's the Doctor's favorite time in Earth history.
Oh, I missed that part.
Wait. She said it during this current serial.
Okay, I missed it.
She said it's the Doctor's favorite time in Earth history is the French Revolution.
It's certainly an interesting time in the history. And Barbara, being the history teacher,
Yeah.
she found compassion for both sides of this conflict. She found compassion for the good people of the revolutionists that are fighting against the monarchy, and she found compassion for the type of the monarch characters, the good people that are trying to escape, and the sort of middle of the road people that just wanted a legal system. They didn't want chaos. They didn't want anarchy. She found compassion for all these characters, and she's sort of this devil advocate, sort of speaking reason type of character, where Ian is this, all in or all out type of character, and he's like, there's this side and there's that side, and we chose sides whether we want to or not. And it's just this great discourse of the companions where we're continuing to develop their characters, and it is great.
Yes. Okay, I can agree with that.
So also in episode 2, moving to episode 3, the end of episode 2, after they shot D'Argerson and Rouvray, they burnt the house down, and we left the Doctor, and the Doctor ended up...
The kid finds him.
Yeah, the kid, who incidentally is Jean-Pierre, an important historical character later on, but as a child, now he's a little boy, and he saves the Doctor out of this burning building. He saves the Doctor, so that's where the Doctor is. But the companions, Susan, Barbara, and Ian, they get arrested by this militia group of citizens that have become, the new army. They take off. They take the companions to jail, and that's where the companions are. And then we find Ian in the cell, and he's talking to a prisoner there who's been shot. Our death count number 4 or so. he later dies.
This is a children's show.
Children's show.
And we have more than one death per episode.
Yeah, previously it was like 1 or 2 characters that died per episode. Now it's 9 per serial. I mean, and now it's 9 people, which is crazy. A lot of bloodshed.
6 episode serial. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, exactly. And Robes. Wait.
We're talking about Ian, who ran into the loyalist type of game. I forget the name of the prisoner, but he had a gun wound and he died from, lead poisoning or blood loss or something. Yeah. But he leaves this message with Ian, and he tells Ian that he has to find James Sterling and Jules Renan and Jules. And he has to make his way back to England and carry information to avoid this war between France and England, because we have English.
Once France is done.
Yeah. But he's talking to Ian. He's relaying this message on his deathbed, and then he dies. And it's unclear who Jules Sterling or James Sterling is. We don't know who that is yet. But the citizen who's he's. We have the jailer, and then we have Citizen, what's-his-face, who's sort of the authority over the jailer, and he overhears this, he talks to the jailer who knew that, who overheard that prisoner even talking. It's very unclear. You know,
1/3 vodka, 2/3 alcohol. No. 1/3 vodka, 2/3.
1 part vodka, 2 parts orange juice.
Orange juice, that's it. Orange juice.
For a screwdriver. Same thing for vodka Sprite. 1 part vodka, 2 parts Sprite.
Yes, I'm very drunk if I can't remember that. Anyway, so it's okay.
So, episode 1. In episode 1, we have the companions. They find this chest. They put on this old French clothing,
correct,
to disguise themselves to sort of fit in.
Just because
they're having fun, but they also want to disguise themselves because usually they want to fit in. As you know, locals. They don't want to stand out. They want to blend in. But in this episode, specifically, I'm confused as to why they would, break open open up this chest and put on these old French clothing to blend in, because they want to be, they want to stand out as English people,
French.
Yeah, they blend in as French, but you think it'd be better for their cause if they blended in as English travelers, because that's the story they go with. They're like, we're just travelers, we're impartial, we're not on either side.
But they didn't know, when they tried on the clothes and they put on the clothes, they didn't know. They didn't know that they weren't France necessarily. They didn't know they weren't the reign of terror during the French Revolution. They did not know.
That's a good point.
They put on the clothes just cause. And the doctor didn't, but the doctor's clothes were reasonably old.
He's such an old-fashioned character. You have these old...
Yeah. Well, the first doctor, yes.
The first doctor.
And the second, and into the third, yeah. But the first doctor here especially. Wait, but we're on the first doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're on the first doctor. Very old clothes. Speaking of his old clothes, once he's rescued by Jean-Pierre, he makes his way to France, and he trades in his old clothes for...
and a ring.
And the ring. I have a note here of the significance of the doctor's ring. Does that ever come into play later? Because he seems conflicted about trading it in, and then later he gets it back when he's talking to the...
Yes and no. Normally the doctor's ring doesn't matter, except there's one single serial where the doctor's ring enables him to access the TARDIS without the key. The ring enables him to access the TARDIS. I don't remember which one it is.
That would have been useful during the Synth Sphere because they lost the whole lock mechanism.
Yes,
it
doesn't happen there, but it happens later on. I don't remember where. You see there, right there. That's where we are.
Absolutely.
Okay. Our main watching group. Well, yeah. I'm pointing at the one that's sticking out.
Like a laser.
I'm pointing at the one that's sticking out. My main watching group is right here. We are a long ways from them, but nevertheless, during the first, what?
How many years is your first watching group in?
We're 6 years in. Wait.
6 years.
7 years in.
7 years, and we're what, 2.5 months? 8 episodes?
Something like that. Yeah, but you and I are watching a serial at a time.
Serial time. You only watch 20 episodes with your friend.
Right, 2 episodes.
2 episodes. We'll catch up.
We'll catch up to them eventually. Yeah. Eventually we'll catch up to them. We'll pass them up. It's okay. Be it as it may, we are there. My main watching group is here. Anyway, eventually, at some point, the doctor's ring enables him to access the TARDIS like a key.
Like a key.
Like when he didn't have, but it's the only time it ever happens. It's the only time it ever comes up. Never comes up ever in all the rest of it. It's so silly. Doctor Who is so silly. But we're fans and we like it and we know what it is and it's okay, If you're watching this, you're a fan of us or Doctor Who, and it's all okay.
So speaking of being fans of Doctor Who, we have such wonderful budgets for such wonderful serials and wardrobes and costume sets and designs.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think would be the best costume or design to cosplay as? Do you know what cosplay is? Like conventions, you have Comic-Con, you have
It's
people.
when you dress up like a character.
Yeah, you dress up as a character. It's lots of fun. Let's say, for instance, you're to go to this Comic-Con convention. You wanted to cosplay as a doctor or someone from the Doctor Who
I'm almost
show.
50. The
Almost.
only
But
The
you
only
look
doctor
like
who
you
dressed
have
up
the
was the
beard.
first
You could do a
Capaldi.
doctor.
No. The only doctors I could literally be would be the first doctor. Yeah, or
Right.
Capaldi. That's no, Capaldi's not on
Is
there.
this couple? Oh,
No,
he's
Capaldi's not on there. They go to the 10th Doctor, not the 11th.
right.
Wait, I'm too old for most of these doctors. Seriously,
No.
I could. No. 50. I am too old for the vast majority.
Let's talk about your joke. What T-shirt are you wearing here? Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney at one of the
One of the Super Bowls.
Yes.
XXX.
Yeah, one of the Super Bowls. But I did not go to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
This was my dad's T-shirt. I inherited from it.
Well, that's nice.
I inherited it from him when he died.
And me down.
My dad died. Yeah. And I got it from when he died.
It's a nice T-shirt.
It is.
But which costume do you like the most? Or maybe you prefer not a doctor, but just to go as a Dalek. I've seen Comic-Con costumes where people would go as a Dalek as the Machine. That's really cool.
No, I love the fourth Doctor.
You love the fourth Doctor?
He's
Is
my
he your-
favorite Doctor.
So he'd
Tom
be your.
Baker. Tom Baker.
Which one's that?
Right there. Tom Baker, the one with the scarf, right
This
there.
one,
Yeah.
not Tom Baker.
Tom Baker, the
The coat
Doctor.
and the
He
skirt
is the
We'll
Doctor.
get you a wig. He's the best cosplay.
I love him. Yes. But I'm way too old to
No.
play him.
Not at all.
I have no hair. He has hair.
That's okay. Cosplay, you can be whoever you want. We'll get you an afro wig and it's
I don't-
great with like the Daleks.
I don't
You can
wanna
put
wear
yourself
a
in a
wig.
machine.
I
They
don't
can't
wanna
even
wear a
see
wig.
you. You know what I mean?
I am much more Santa Claus, or if I shaved Picard.
You can't go to cosplay as you can't go to Comic-Con as Santa
That's the
Claus.
thing, I don't want to cosplay. But he's my favorite Doctor, by far. And
Favorite
Troughton is second, and Tennant is third.
Good to know.
Alright, Tom Baker, Troughton, and then Tennant. Yeah.
Good deal.
4, 2, 10. 10. 10.
10 is all 10 fingers. Let's try 10 again. It's like this.
4, 2,
4, 2,
and 10.
No,
Alright,
that's
10.
7. 10 is
That's
all 5. 10 is all 5. 10 is like this.
5 is 10. Yeah, 10.
No, that's 7. You have to
That's
do all
10.
5 10 fingers. There you go. There's 10.
10.
No, that's 7. What are you doing?
10. That's 10.
Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's all 10 fingers. 5 and 5.
10. Okay.
There you go. There you go. 4, 2, and 10.
4,
4,
2,
2,
and 10.
10. Good job.
There you go. Okay.
All right, moving on.
Okay.
Episode 3. So we talked about the Doctor's ring and how he traded that in, as well as his costume for the official robes and the paper, so he can pose as this official character to try and break the companions that are prisoned.
Wait. Where the hell were we?
Episode 3. The change of identity. That's where the Doctor changes in his robes and his ring for the official wardrobe, and the papers to say that he's this prison warden from the West.
No. He's the diplomat from the Southern District in France.
Southern District in France diplomat.
Exactly.
He trades that in, he gets his official paper, his sash, and his costume, and that ridiculous hat with the plume.
I love the plumes.
This is great.
Yeah, and the red, white, and blue sash.
So he trades his outfit and his ring in for that outfit, which is crazy, to try to get his companions out of prison. But we also have Ian, who escaped from prison by the jailer, who's totally incompetent. The citizen, he's trying to call him, who later turns out to be James Sterling. He calls the jailer while he's trying to get his keys out of the door. He leaves the keys in the door. Ian, being the highly sophisticated person he is, he finds the key. He noticed the door is ajar. He was listening. He realized that the jailer must have left the keys in the door. He reaches out. He takes the key. He takes his prison key and he puts the keys back in. Jailer doesn't notice. He comes back, takes the keys. Ian later escapes having the key and finds the jailer, drunk on wine. He passed out. He bumped his head when he passed out, and he escapes. And later he's captured by Jean and Jules, who also happen to rescue Barbara and Susan as they're on their way to the guillotine, about to be executed. They're also rescued by Jean and Jules, who vow to not rest until the five of them are the five of them are reunited, because we also have the doctor. The doctor's still missing. They thought he might have died.
Dr. Ian and Barbara and
oh, the four of them united, right?
Yeah. Oh my God!
Susan, Barbara, and the doctor. Yeah, you're right. There's four of them.
Yeah, but yes. And that's what happens.
I can't count. 10. 4, 2, and 10. You're saying 7 is 10. This was
4, 2, and 10. What are you talking about?
That's what you said. You said this is 10, and that's
maybe I did. Anyway.
So we have the 4.
Anyway, oh my gosh, we drink.
Ooh. We need to get you a straw.
It's a screwdriver, you don't need a straw.
Yeah, it's good for mixing.
Well, yeah, but screwdriver, orange juice, vodka, what do you need? Anyway.
Well, we were talking earlier about how orange juice and vodka is very heavy and syrupy, and orange juice is light, kind of like water, and it sets on top, and the vodka mix.
I have the wooden spoon.
The wooden spoon. You mixed the pitcher, but we left it setting for a while, so maybe it sits back. The straw helps mix it up again, and the cup.
Straw just get you more vodka. Anyway, they all get back together. Yes.
They all get back to well, 3 out of the 4, because the doctor's off cosplaying as this official character. We have Susan, Ian, and Barbara back and in custody, being rescued from Jean and Jules. This was episode 4, which was animated, which is kind of hard to recognize Ian right away. We didn't realize it was him.
Correct. 4 and 5 are animated. They were lost, but they've animated them to complete the serial. Mm-hmm. And 6 still exists.
And the animations, they're not spot on. It's hard to recognize the characters.
You love the animation.
I love the animation.
You did.
Line drawing.
I thought it was too macabre.
But at the same way, we have some characters that are just spot on. The doctor, instantly recognizable. Ian, on the other hand, it's hard to recognize him with that.
And Barbara.
And Barbara. Well, Barbara, you can recognize her. She just doesn't look real great. Unflattering animation for Barbara. For Ian, he's kind of unrecognizable until you look at the hair and stuff. But when we're first introduced to him at the end of episode 4, it's hard to recognize him. But later we find out it is Ian that was apprehended by Jean and Jules, and he's reunited with Barbara and Susan. But the doctor's still missing. Susan she becomes sick, because she has low sleep. It's been very cold in the prison. She has reoccurring headaches. She's running a chill or a fever.
We don't know what she got in the prison.
Yeah, she has a headache. Do you think a headache does that have anything to do with her latent Doctor Who powers? Because she in the previous serial, the Synth Sphere, she's shown to have time traveler-esque powers. She's sort of had this. She has this knack for mind reading and mind communication. Do you think headaches comes along with that latent Doctor Who
Possibly, but in this case, I think her headache is a simple way to take her out of the equation.
Yeah.
I think it's the way to minimize her so they get on with the rest of the plot.
Well, her headache it's not so much a minimization as a maximization of her character during the plot, because later that leads to her needing to see a physician, and Barbara and Susan seeing the physician ends up them being recaptured and re-imprisoned.
Correct.
Which
Yeah.
is, whoa,
nice.
left.
The physician,
He turns out to be a loyalist. He suspects them.
and he turns him in.
He turns him
He's
in.
a traitor, yeah.
Yeah, he's a traitor. Hanyak.
Hanyak. Exactly.
Now, tell our viewers what Hanyak means. That's it.
Hanyak.
What's the origin of that
It means
word?
dumbass. The original meaning of the term is a Polish soldier.
Polish.
Right, Polish
It's
soldier who cannot stand in line correctly. The modern version of the term is dumbass. Seriously, well, I mean, that's what it means. I grew up with it. My dad said it, and that's what it is.
We have this physician who's a traitor. He's a revolutionist. He turns in Barbara and Susan to the place, which leads to their recapture. Speaking of Hanyaks, we also have the tailor who took. He reported the doctor as a traitor because he went to the authorities and he turned the ring in and his outfit that he traded in for the official robes. He's like, hey, this guy's suspicious, which leads to the doctor being questioned by a future James Sterling. We don't know it's James Sterling yet. He's just this official person who's posed as this revolutionary, which leads us to episode 5?
5. Yep.
5, which is the penultimate episode. We have a lot of things going on, which leads to the a trade of necessity or a bargain of necessity.
Yes.
Our second animated episode, which leads us to the revelation that James Sterling is really on the side of the loyalists. He's on the side of democracy and anti-chaos and anarchy. Anti-revolutionary, yeah. He just wants organization. He doesn't want to see innocent people being. He's actually a spy from England who's James Sterling, which he gets the message from Ian, the message that was given to him from the dying prisoner. Right. So he gets that message, which says that James Sterling has important information that needs to be returned to England.
Right. He ends up being James Sterling.
He ends up being James Sterling, and they organize this plot. Also, one of which Jean or Jules, one of which posing as a loyalist, sort of anti-revolutionary, turns to be an undercover agent. He is really a revolutionary, and he captures Ian, and Ian is rescued later by was it Jean? Jean was the good guy, and Jules was the revolutionary, or vice versa. I forget which is who.
So lost me. I am so lost.
This is episode 5.
Yeah, 6. Yeah.
And they rescue Ian, who's been captured, and that leads to 3 more deaths. 2 guards, and I think Jules is killed by Jean. And because Jules is a traitor, he ends up being an undercover revolutionary.
Right. So
And that prompts our development of Barbara's character, who's the history teacher. She's very much, devil's advocate. She's on the side of both people. She sees, the ups and downs of each other's characters. They're both good people. And it really brings into the it feeds into the tragedy, which is revolutions, because we have all these innocent people warring against each other, and it's lots of people die. I need a bathroom break. So I'll let you go on. You rant.
Okay.
So we're talking about we're on to episode 6. So I'll leave you to talk about Napoleon Bonaparte. He's the future leader of France, and that's sort of set up. I'll be right back.
Good. Alright. Okay. So anyway, yes. he needs a bathroom break. We too much vodka and orange juice and wine and Sprite and vodka and whatever. Anyway, in the 6th episode, Napoleon Bonaparte shows up as a general, as a corporal, a lieutenant, and as one of the triad who's going to fix France. But they know at least Robespierre knows that his ambition cannot be contained by a triad, so that he will take over the whole of France. He will rule the whole of France, and he does eventually, of course, according to history, rule the whole of France. And he takes France and leads it against the Austrian Empire, the Russian Empire, with originally the Russian Tsar, and eventually against the Russian Tsar, and against the whole of Europe. And eventually France rules most of Europe, and it makes it all the way to Moscow. But he has his lines of what's it called? The way they feed people and take care of people on the lines. His lines of capability. Wow, I can't believe I do not remember this term. But anyway, his lines of being able to feed his people and his troops fall apart. And so, of course, Napoleon Bonaparte eventually falls back into France, exiting and leaving Russia, so that he retreats back into France, losing most of his army. Wait, but this is not shown in the serial. In the serial, all is shown is that Napoleon Bonaparte might be ascending into the rulership of France. It's a very, very mild assertion. Of course, it's true in the 6th episode, but it's not the majority of the episodes, and it's not the majority of French history. And it is only a bit of display. Yeah. It is only a bit of display. Bonaparte is only a bit of display.
Don't worry, I'm back.
Good.
Did you have a good discourse?
Yes.
What are we? Catch me up on what
We're talking about Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
That's what
He ends up being the future leader of France. We sort of tease about that during the serial.
Yes, in the 6th episode, but it's all.
Yeah.
And Bonaparte leads France into attacking everyone, including Russia. And he makes his way to Moscow.
Yeah, he goes on this huge campaign, sort of akin to, Alexander the Great. He goes on this great
campaign.
But he loses.
He conquers Moscow, but he loses it.
He spreads his military forces too thin, and yeah. but we don't really dive too deeply into that.
Right. All we see in the serials that he's possibly the next ruler of France.
Potential candidate. We see his ambition. They tease at it. Of course, Barbara and Ian already know about it, so they're they catch on pretty quickly, and they tease about it to the loyalists or the middle party, and they're like, well, who's gonna lead France? And then Ian's like, keep Napoleon Bonaparte in your head, and he's like, what's his nationality? Napoleon Bonaparte's nationality? He's like a kid.
Who's Corsican?
Corsican, yeah. He's like a Corsican leading France? No way. He's like,
right. It's so silly back then. You know, you could be born on this island that was French or not French or Italian or not Italian. And you could leave France. Oh my gosh, nationality is so insane back then.
Yeah, we have all these lines that we draw still, even today. Not even then, but even
Right,
today.
but back then it was so
we draw.
insane.
It's still insane. You know, lots of lines, lots of imagine. You know what happens when you go to space? You don't see any borders because it's just people.
Wait, we go to space?
If you go to space.
How do we get that from Doctor Who?
Well, we're talking about borders and nationalities. You know, we draw all these lines in the sand. You know, you're American, you're Canadian, yada yada, Mexican. But you go to space, you just see one continent. You see people, you see land. It's
Well, yeah, but I mean, eventually nationalities and borders and lines mean something, you know.
It means something, yeah.
Yeah.
But also, yeah. So that's episode 6. We talked about.
Eight. So
Well, our episode 8, our episode of the serial 8 of episode 5 of serial 8. We talked about the penultimate episode where this building conflict. Into episode 6, we reach this resolution of where they align themselves with James Sterling. They get everyone out of prison finally. They arrange Susan's release as once again the doctor goes in posing as this authoritative figure. He talks to the jailer, intimidates him. He gets Susan out of prison. They're all released. They go back to the TARDIS and they're safe. Once again, they by the skin of their teeth they escape. The guillotine and execution. It's great. And next episode is the Planet of Giants.
Right.
Once again, returning to our sci-fi roots.
Well, wait, yeah, this is episode 8, Reign of Terror, a historical episode. Next episode, the first serial of the second season. This is the last episode of this last serial of the first season. And then we'll go to the Planet of Giants. This is Reign of Terror.
Thanks for joining us this week once again. Yeah. Any last comments for our viewers, Hatter?
Yeah, all 12 of you. See you next week.
There'll be all 13 of you.
13?
Yeah.
Wait, we have 13?
Well, we're about to with this episode.
Okay.
That's a glass half full,
I guess we're getting out the viewer. All 13 of you. Enjoy.
Thanks for joining us.
Once
again, we'll see you next week with the Planet of Giants. No more hiatuses until September when we'll go on vacation.
September, I go on vacation. And we'll have a couple weeks off. I will be in question mark.
Yeah, it's a mystery.
It's all good. And we'll be back in the middle of September. For those who care.
And cut.
Exactly.
Sponsored by Uber.
Uber.
Drive responsibly.
I do. What are you talking about?
As well as I.